First of all, to add or subtract matrices, the matrices have to have the same size, meaning the same number of rows and the same number of columns. In our first example here, the first matrix is 2 by 2, meaning 2 rows and 2 columns, as is the second one, and so these we can add. So, the way you get the number in the upper left-hand corner, the number that goes in row 1, column 1, is you take the 5 from the first matrix, the 1 from the second matrix, and since the matrices are being added, you add their elements. 5 plus 1 is 6. To get the result that goes in row 1, column 2, you take the numbers from row 1 and column 2 of each matrix, and since the matrices are being added, you add them. -2 plus -1 is -3. Now let's go to row 2, column 1. Take the 0 from the first matrix, the -2 from the second matrix, and add them. 0 plus -2 is -2. And finally, in the lower right, you take the 3 from the first matrix and the 4 from the second matrix, and you add them. That's your answer. It really is that easy. To add two matrices, you just add the corresponding elements of each matrix. Part B is asking us to subtract the two matrices. The first matrix is a 2 by 3 matrix, 2 rows, 3 columns. The second one is a 2 by 3 matrix, 2 rows, 3 columns. It's only because they have identical sizes that we are able to subtract them. So our answer is going to be a 2 by 3 matrix. And subtracting matrices is identical to adding. You take the corresponding elements and you subtract them. So starting in the upper left, take the 2 and the 0 and do 2 minus 0. That gives you 2. Then take the 6 and the -1 and subtract them. 6 minus -1. Remember, subtracting a negative is the same as adding. 6 minus -1 is the same as 6 plus 1, or 7. In the upper right, you have -3 minus 1. You can do it on your calculator if you forgot how to subtract with negative numbers. -3 minus 1 is -4. In the lower left, 5 minus 2, a first grade problem, 3. Moving over to row 2, column 2, you have 1 minus -2. Again, subtracting a negative is like adding a positive, so we think of 1 minus -2 as 1 plus +2. 1 plus 2 is 3. And finally, in the lower right, you take the 1 from the first matrix, the 2 from the second matrix, you subtract them. 1 minus 2 is -1. That is the answer to part B. Part C. We have 3 rows and 2 columns, and all 3 matrices are the same size. So again, that's why we're able to add and subtract them. And your answer is going to be a 3 by 2 matrix as well. So to get the entry in row 1 and column 1, you take the corresponding entries from the 3 matrices you're given, and then you add the first 2 because the first 2 matrices are being added, and you subtract the third one because the third matrix is being subtracted. 6 plus 5 is 11. 11 minus 11 is 0. So that's the entry that goes in row 1, column 1. Now let's look at row 1, column 2. We have 1 plus -1 and then minus 2. 1 plus negative 1 is 0, and 0 minus 2 is negative 2. You don't have to show the work that I'm showing over to the right, just trying to help you follow the calculations. You can just write the answer on a test showing no work. You don't hear me say that much, do you? Row 2, column 1, 0 added to 2, subtracting negative 3. Remember, subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. 0 plus 2 is 2. 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. Row 2, column 2. 4 plus negative 2 minus 5. Well, adding a negative is like subtracting a positive. So 4 plus negative 2 is like 4 minus 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. And then 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Again, you can do all of these on a calculator if you need to. Row 3, column 1. 3 plus 5 minus 0. 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 minus 0 is 8. And finally, row 3, column 2. So you add the first two and you subtract the third. Negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1. And now we have 1 minus negative 1, and that's the same as 1 plus 1, which is 2. That is the answer to part C.